Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We're going to be talking about Star Wars Shatterpoint in 2024. Amazing things that we can expect to see, and not least among them, the Ghost Crew, Star Wars Rebels, and Grand Admiral Thrawn, and everything else that we know is coming, plus some things that we can sort of expect, and some things that I'm going to guess are coming. So very, very cool stuff to talk about in this video. I want to hear some of your predictions down in the comments section on what you think we're going to see and what you love to see or what you really hope to see. If you guys haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button. It really helps out. Also, don't forget to check out the other links that are down in the video description below. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this list. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to start talking about some things that we already have started to see previews for. We have the Plo Koon and Wolfpack box, plus Ahsoka Padawan. Ahsoka Tano is coming out for the masses. She's already available in-game now if you were one of the lucky people who both pre-ordered the Shatterpoint starter box and were in on the limited release of the early access Ahsoka Tano. However, the exact same Ahsoka Tano is coming also in this pack, so if you didn't get one already, fear not, because she is here. And they've already started previews for Plo Koon and the Wolf Pack and Commander Wolf. Looks to be an exciting set. I am a big fan of the Padawan Ahsoka Tano and how she fits in as a secondary. It's very cool having her and being able to do bigger build options, so that one's exciting. Also, we're going to be getting our first true Galactic Civil War specific items, the Age of Rebellion stuff with with Luke and Leia in Boushh bounty hunter disguise, plus Lando and R2. Lando and R2 are actually one unit, which is also surprising, but I guess it works as a way to what would have been just two rebel troops. And they said, you know what, let's just make it two rebel troops that are actually kind of awesome and balance it by, hey, R2 doesn't have a whole lot of shooting potential, but Lando does. So that's just a weird unit. We've already started seeing previews from these. I've already talked about some of them. These are also up for pre-order already. To go along with that, Darth Vader and Stormtroopers are coming as well. This is the second version of Darth Vader. If you've already got the You Cannot Run dual pack, that is also another version of Darth Vader. And so this one I'm a little less excited about, although the Stormtroopers are going to be awesome. I think I'm more excited about the Stormtroopers than I am about Vader because I've already got a Darth Vader. And while I don't know, I think the version of Vader I have right now I prefer, and I have a guess as to how this all went down. My guess is that they planned to do this one, and then late in the game, after this was already kind of designed, and kind of ready to go, and said, all right, we're going to slot this for 2024. Lucasfilm said, hey, you guys want to do early access Kenobi stuff? And so they got early access to start working on, that Darth Vader from Kenobi, and did all of the Kenobi specific stuff. And that it skipped ahead in line. Had it come out in the normal progression of things, I think this Vader would have been first, and then the other Vader would have been second, and maybe had a little power creep. Although they do play differently, there's certainly nothing wrong with having both. I think I'm a bigger fan of the existing Vader, but I guess, some of those opinions change once they get on the tabletop and you get to see them in action. Either way, you're also getting Stormtroopers here and cheap enough units to be able to make some build options more viable. So pretty cool stuff here. We're also getting Ewoks. There's two different Ewok packs, the Uya-Cha and the Yub-Nub pack, both up for pre-order right now. This one has Leia in it. The other one has R2 and 3PO, a different version of R2. So you're getting like R2-D2 showing up all over the place here, which is kind of interesting because he's not only with Lando, but he's also with the Ewoks. Previews for these are also coming out. These are also up for pre-order. So all of this stuff is going to be very early 2024, which is exciting. But I also want to take a look at some things that are a little bit farther past that. But before I do, I want to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. Amazing full metal tokens. Folks, these are fantastic gaming tokens. They have lines compatible with Star Wars Legion, with Star Wars X-Wing, Magic the Gathering, lots of really great tokens. Head over to Luxury Playstyle, check them out. Use code Crabbok VIP. While you're there, you'll save 15%. Awesome damage tokens, too. A lot of these tokens you can also use with Shatterpoint, so definitely check those out. Orders that use this code to save 15% or more are going to get a free Crabbok token thrown in. It's got the lightsaber nunchucks on there. It's a fantastic token. Head over to luxuryplaystyle.com. Check out these amazing full metal double-sided gorgeous tokens. All right, so we've got some other stuff that's coming out a little bit later in the year. Hondo Ohnaka and his pirate gang are coming. Well, I think Hondo was the least well-kept secret in all of Shatterpoint, considering he's on the Shatterpoint card. He was kind of in there from the game's initial conception, it seems like. I do love the Cam Tono that's on there. That's very cool stuff. And I love the basing options here as being true options. Like, you don't have to put those crates on there. It looks like you don't have to put them on there. So if you're doing basing material that maybe doesn't want crates, or if you want to swap that out with a rock, or swap that out with a tree stump, or something like that, you can have some really cool build options here. So I'm kind of digging some of the design choices that are going in to some of these sculpts. Even though Hondo's pirate gang isn't necessarily my favorite group in the world, Hondo happens to be really cool. Big fan of Jim Cummings' work, and always kind of reminds me of Minsk from Baldur's Gate. Even though in Baldur's Gate 3, Minsk is now voiced by Matt Mercer, who did a fantastic job, still tribute to the original. And it's kind of cool, his little, like, it's like, is that Boo on his shoulder? I wonder if it's, it's kind of like Hamster, So I'm totally going to play him as Minsk in Shatterpoint. I think that's the way to go. For you fans of D&D and Baldur's Gate, the series, you know what I'm talking about. Pretty cool character. Moving forward, the most interesting and maybe my most wanted backstory as far as what in the world went into this particular set, because this one's bizarre. So I'll say why it's bizarre in a couple of minutes. First off, Mando. We knew Mando was coming. We got a little bit more of a look at at our set. We've got Greef Karga, we've got IG-11 also coming with Mando, and of course Grogu there on the base with Mando. We knew that this Mando and Grogu were I think one of the first, if not the first, miniature that they created in kind of trying to prototype this game. This was like one of their first for that whole hey, this is the game we want to propose. Here's what we want to do, and then this was like the proof of concept miniature. So probably their first one. That being said, he looks great, but I feel like we'll look back on this and say, you know what, they've come a long way since him, because like these miniatures, IG-11 looks fantastic, but Greef Karga looks like one of their least good miniatures, because it doesn't look anything like the character. I remember when they first previewed it, I wasn't even sure who that was. I was like, wait. I mean, I would guess that it's probably Greef Karga, because he's the only character who's prominent, unless they were doing a background character. But that was what I honestly didn't know. It's like, was this meant to be like a secondary who's just like a local citizen fighting, or was that meant to be a named character? Because it doesn't look anything like Apollo Creed. You know what I'm saying? It does. I just don't see it. But that's okay. I think it's more of a thing about when they make so many really, really great sculpts. When one falls through the cracks, it stands out, because I'm used to really, really good sculpts on all of these, and that one just doesn't do it for me. Sorry, got to call a spade a spade. But the other thing that makes this whole wave this whole box so interesting is that it's 3 characters. I'm going to take a guess here. Now, this is just me guessing, and I want to know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you disagree with me? Because on one hand, I could be totally wrong here. But my guess is that this was originally a 4-character box, like pretty much every other character box. My guess is that this was a 4-character box, and that Cara Dune was the 4th character, and due to not even that recent, but due to other developments, she was scrapped and not replaced with another character, because this would have probably been created after Mando Season 1, and maybe you didn't have enough time, or maybe, maybe the armorer would have worked for a whole different section, and maybe they just didn't have anything else that happened to fit and was recognizable enough, and said, let's just go with a 3-character box. Since you're going to run 3 anyway, if you're having a single character support. And maybe that's exactly what you're getting. So I thought, that's my guess, is that this may have been originally planned out to be Cara Dune, and then she had to get kind of scrapped, and because of the situation with Gina Carano and all of that. So I think that's what happened here. It's interesting to me. I wonder if, as a result, the price point is going to be a little bit lower for this one, because you're getting one less miniature than you typically get. I don't know. They could say, well, you're getting the Grogu miniature. I'm like, yeah, are you though? Because it's still part of Mando, so it's just it's like a tactical rock. I don't know, but we haven't seen previews from this yet. This could not be final artwork too. There could be a mystery fourth character. Maybe it just didn't get spoiled yet. Maybe the sculpt was bad and had to go back to the drawing board, and this will get delayed. Maybe this was supposed to have come out already. I don't know. There's a lot of different situations. My guess, though, that's my guess. They had to scrap Cara Dune. That's a guess. We'll see. How many times have I said that that's a guess? I don't want somebody walking away being like, well, Crabbok says he's got inside information. No. All right. Very cool stuff from much more recent Mandalorian. Is we're getting a Death Trooper. We're getting Moff Gideon. We're getting Dark Troopers. The Dark Troopers are really surprising to me, because the fact that we have two of them, like everything in this box is like top tier competitive. When I say that, I mean like those type of units that ought to be top tier competitive. Death Troopers are supposed to be elite. Dark Troopers are elite. Moff Gideon he's a leader, so he's got to be a primary, right? So like what's going to be the support? What's going to be the secondary? These are going to be expensive. That's what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be an expensive unit. I really hope they don't make the Dark Troopers kind of weak, but at the same time, if they're supports, is there going to be power creep here? I don't know. This one scares me a little bit. It definitely does. What doesn't scare me, what very much makes me very, very happy, is to see Inferno Squad. I love Inferno Squad. I love Iden Versio. These are my favorite Imperials, and maybe all the Empire. Of course, that's not really saying much. But yeah, no, I absolutely love Inferno Squad. And I like that we're getting the recognizable characters. At least we have maybe a Sane Marana in there. It doesn't look like they did a named Sane Marana in there, but you're getting two more Inferno Squad troopers, so I can just call one of them Sane Marana. For those of you who know, I say this in all my videos when I talk about this. She was the fourth member of Inferno Squad. She's from the book, but didn't have a presence in the video game. So if you read the book, you know about Sane Marana. So it's nice to see her included. We also we've got some more Galactic Civil War stuff coming out with Han Solo, Chewbacca, and some Rebel Commandos. Very happy with the choice of not putting a trench coat on Han Solo in this one, as opposed to Legion's version of this. So it looks like a really good Han Solo sculpt. People are very mixed on the Chewbacca sculpt. Because some folks have said he looks a little cartoonish, and I'm not gonna lie, I do see it. But then again, that was part of the inspiration for this game, was to be like a Saturday morning cartoon. So making or Chewbacca look a little bit more like a Disney Infinity version of Chewbacca is kind of appropriate, because it's on theme with what they're doing here. So much of this Star Wars stuff is animated anyway, with Rebels, and we're getting to that. I think it's appropriate, and I kind of dig it. I kind of like him, kind of big and burly. I just hope his card reflects that animosity that we see from Chewie there, just kind of doing like it looks like Zangief spinning around doing the spinning lariat. So I think it looks cool. We're getting some new terrain. They're doing like this garage here with the rat. So the Womp Rat is going to be in there. Everybody's making jokes about the Womp Rat. So that's coming too. If you want more terrain, you're going to do that. I wonder if this also is a sign of even more terrain, but at some point, are they going to do like a different style of terrain? Like, because all of the terrain they have for this game kind of looks like it all belongs in the same, not just the same planet, but like the same town, or maybe the same street, right? It's very kind of Tatooine-esque, Lothal-esque, or whatever, like kind of desert planet-esque, but it's versatile enough that you could paint it up differently or whatever. But like, are we going to see a different theme? Are we going to see like Ewok Village type stuff? Are we going to see, just a different locale? We're going to see kind of Hoth era terrain. Now, granted, of course, you can make this look like it's on Hoth if you paint it like with some snow on the base and stuff. So you can make it's generic enough that it works on any planet for the most part. But I wonder if they're going to do a drastic different design style. And how they're going to do that, because this fits the bill, because this is also going to be interactive, and those gantries are going to fit into this. So I think whatever else they do, they're going to have to make it to where like gantries kind of mix and match. I think they should do some like Star Destroyer interior stuff, like a reactor core room. I know that there's plenty of other people making terrain for the game, and like Imperial terrain and Legion terrain. A lot of these other companies are making awesome terrain that work with both Star Wars Legion and Star Wars Shatterpoint. So maybe AMG doesn't have to make any more terrain. Maybe this is just the only style of terrain they make, and that's probably fine. But it just has me kind of wondering at what they're going to announce, and if they announce some new terrain that might be impacting the way the game is played. Like all of a sudden you don't need to have the high ground anymore because this new mode of play is all about flat terrain. I don't know if they're going to do that. That would be like Battle of Naboo stuff, where there's just on grassland. I don't know. I don't see them doing that, because this game is less about battling and more about moving. Moving forward, the Bad Batch, while they have already been spoiled that they're coming for Star Wars Legion, they also are coming for Star Wars Shatterpoint. Big difference between Shatterpoint and Legion for the Bad Batch is that your Shatterpoint Bad Batch characters are going to be more recognizable. These are going to have the animated, exaggerated proportions. Like Wrecker is going to be massively huge and look like they look on the cartoon. They're going to look animated in their version. Now, we haven't seen the sculpts yet, but we have seen the sculpts for Legion, and they are a little bit more slimmed down to realistic human proportions. And since these are kind of exaggerated characters, they don't translate as well into Star Wars Legion. So if you're a big fan of the Bad Batch, Shatterpoint is probably going to give you a little bit more cartoon accurate sculpts, and I'm anxious to see those. These are probably going to be on the later half of 2024. I expect to see more of these at Adepticon when they do their big presentation. Speaking of things at Adepticon, look, we've had Star Wars Rebels spoiled for a while now, but we still haven't seen the actual unit cards, and I haven't seen box art. So we need to see more about Star Wars Rebels. But we did get a couple of things. We know the Ghost Crew is coming. It looks like this is one big pack, and so this is the thing I am most excited in the entire game. This is the thing that made me say I really wanted to play Shatterpoint, because I want the Ghost Crew all together on my tabletop. I want a Star Wars Rebels game, and if you're running all of the Ghost Crew together, that's going to be basically like being able to play Star Wars Rebels, the game. And that's awesome. These are actually their activation cards here. So they did a whole different style. So I love that they have gone all in with Rebels, which is probably my favorite Star Wars of all time. I love Star Wars Rebels. Best show ever, maybe? Maybe. And one of the great things about Rebels is they brought my favorite Star Wars villain of all time, Star Wars Grand Admiral Thrawn. Star Wars villain is such a harsh term. I say misunderstood hero. I think again, it depends on where you look at Thrawn from, because Thrawn did some mean things in Star Wars Rebels. Like he straight up killed a guy. He straight up murdered a guy for being a spy who was also killing Imperials. So like the dude was like he was insurrectionisting, right? He was being a little terrorist, kind of planting bombs in the speeders and stuff like that, so they'd blow up. And even made a guy sit on there. I'm like, all right, you're gonna demonstrate it. Made that guy so Thrawn wasn't super nice in Rebels. He was more villain Thrawn in Rebels. That's probably how he'll be in this game, the Rebels version of him. But if you read the books, the whole reason he's in the Empire is for the greater good. So, but he doesn't communicate as well with people. He doesn't have those social graces. And that's really his one weakness, is his social awkwardness, I suppose. And that is why I love him so much. I believe he sort of represents a Star Wars character who might be on the autism spectrum, and kind of demonstrating a little bit on how the challenges that he faces, but also how you can leverage that to use it as your superpower. So big fan of Grand Admiral Thrawn. I love the way Timothy Zahn writes him. The new books, the prequel trilogy for Thrawn too. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Massive Grand Admiral Thrawn fan. Very much looking forward to seeing what they put with Thrawn, because we're going to need 6 more characters to go up against Rebels, right? So is it going to be Thrawn and like one pack, and then like maybe a Tarkin pack? Or I guess you could use Darth Vader and Stormtroopers, so you could kind of do that. So you don't necessarily need another 6-person pack, but is he going to come with Rook? Is he going to come with those droids? There's a lot of things that we need to see, and I can't wait to see Thrawn finally show up on tabletop gaming. I love it. It also makes me really want a second edition of Star Wars Rebellion, because he would be perfect in that game. But that's a little off topic, so let's keep going. We do have another thing to look at for the Ghost Crew. While they didn't show it at Mini Stravaganza, they did show this at last Adepticon. We can see the models and the sculpts for the Ghost Crew. This is what they showed. That really had me very, very excited. I think this is what they ended their presentation with, too. So we're going to have Chopper, we're going to have Zeb, we're going to have Hera, we're going to have Kanan, Ezra, and Sabine. They all look incredible. The only one I'm not super, super crazy about is Sabine, and it's a super dynamic sculpt. It's maybe the best sculpt of all of them. I just usually like my characters with 2 feet on the ground. Slight little problem possibly with Ezra, although he looks really good there. It just, when you have only 1 foot to glue to the base, to attach to the base, you're a little bit more likely for it to break off if you're not being super careful, and sometimes I'm a little klutzy. So that's one thing that I think about, but I take extra consideration into that when I'm doing my basing, because I'll put like extra mud or something around the foot to kind of help lodge it in. So maybe his foot's sinking into the mud just a little bit, but it gives the whole miniature more support. Now with Sabine, I usually don't like doing the terrain pieces that elevate a character. So if somebody's, on a puff of smoke or something like that, I guess it's better than flight stands, but I'm not usually a big fan of that. And this stuff looks weird. Is that I'm going to have to paint like an explosion as he's jumping off of, and I'm just not a big fan of that. Although it looks like I might be able to kind of cut the foot off and have her off of something else if I wanted to put a tree stump on there or something else like that. I have plenty of time to figure it out. I don't have a problem with Chopper though, because Chopper's, for whatever reason, I don't expect Chopper to be dynamic at all. So the fact that they made Chopper dynamic right there, for whatever reason, I like Chopper. Not as crazy about the Sabine base, but her sculpt looks great. Her pose looks great. It'd be hard for me to, you could probably just have her on the ground, like kneeling down, doing that too. Like just bring her down a little bit. I don't know. There's a lot of options, a lot of time to think about it. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Also, we already saw the Sabotage Showdown mission pack, but there's a third mission pack that was tested. They talked about a third mission pack. The first mission pack, of course, being the one that comes in the core set. Sabotage Showdown was talked about at Mini Stravaganza to be the second of 3. So I believe it's reasonable to expect that 2024 will give us the third mission pack. Now, this isn't a guarantee. They haven't said that, so I'm a little bit into speculative territory right now. But I would love to see that third mission pack show up and change the game a little bit more. Now, Sabotage Showdown did some different things. It pushed the battlefield a little closer together, and also gave some different Shatterpoint card results that can kind of change things up a little bit, and also change the way the third struggle comes out, because you don't have choice on the third struggle. So that's probably the biggest change in Sabotage Showdown for me, is that when that third struggle comes out, there's no if you lost that second struggle, you're not like, oh, I get a bonus now. And no, you have it's perfectly even, and so that's a big deal. That definitely changes the flow of the game. I'm hoping the third pack also changes the flow of the game, and I would love it if the third pack gave you a little bit more incentive for actually wounding and defeating enemy characters, like extra points for that. If there's a way that it could do that, and they have a lot of options on the way that they can make these work. I think it'd be very cool to have have an option to play Shatterpoint as a little bit more combat oriented than it currently is. I know that I've talked about that's one of the problems I have with Shatterpoint, is that it's area control, and there's less and less incentive to actually do combat, because even if you wound somebody, there's so many effects that can still have a wounded character move and shoot and still be kind of immune to all damage. And there's some negatives to wounding somebody, but not really enough, and you don't actually taking somebody off the board and influencing their activation order and stuff like that. So whereas Marvel Crisis Protocol handles it a lot better, I think that whole thing could be fixed with a third mission pack, depending on how, not fixed, but at least pushed closer to where I personally would like it to be. But that's really just my preference, and I think it'd be a great option to have 3 different games. One that's kind of the classic Sabotage Showdown, that's a slight change on the classic, and then the third one, which might be more combat oriented, or it might be less combat oriented. So who knows? I can only guess. Speaking of guesses, I do think we're going to see some new things spoiled, probably at Adepticon. What I expect is that there were some hints that the spy keyword was going to be used again, and I think it was something that they let slip that they may not have been supposed to let slip, but it was let slip, and that makes me think about one of the greatest Star Wars films of all time that needs to show up in Star Wars Shatterpoint, Rogue One. I expect to see Rogue One making a big presence in Star Wars Shatterpoint. First off, I think it's perfect for Shatterpoint. Second off, we've already got a Death Trooper that's coming with Moff Gideon, so let's get Krennic in there. Let's get Shore Troopers in there. We have a lot of really cool things that we can also do there. You could also do Death Troopers as a support, so like a unit of 2 Death Troopers is another option. So then you can have Death Troopers secondary and Death Troopers support as a possibility. I'm not sure if they're going to really want to do that or not, but it is something that they could totally do. But the Rebels are the coolest part of Rogue One, so you're going to have so many very, very cool things. I definitely expect to see Baze and Chirrut. This game works so well for stuff like that, and this game doesn't have to be all Jedi. There's so much about tactically, trying to just secure an area, and these guys were perfect for that. There's so many cool things they could do. Plus, since they're already doing some tie-ins with Disney Plus shows, this would be a perfect opportunity to tie in Andor. And so you could have Cassian Andor work with both Rogue. Like, I wouldn't expect to see Jyn and Cassian in the same pack. I'd expect it to be like Jyn and Baze and Chirrut, and then maybe even like Melshi or some of the other supporting characters that were from that pack. Then you could do Cassian Andor, possibly with some of the other characters from Andor, like Lutheran or whatever. You could totally do that and have them come out in like the same time frame, and then all of a sudden they all work together theoretically. But you could mix and match and it'd be so much more meaningful. I love that idea. I think there's so many really cool options for that, and this would be a perfect year to have that come out. It'll still be fresh enough in people's minds. Andor Season 2 is going to be coming out at some point, so again, the timing, it would all work out really well. This is number 1 on my predictions list for 2024. But I want to hear some of your thoughts on what you are expecting to see and what you're hoping to see in Star Wars Shatterpoint in 2024. All right, guys, let me know down in the comments section. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday time. Merry Christmas to all of you. Hopefully you have a fantastic holiday season and a very happy new year. May your holidays be wonderful. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. Thank you for your continued support. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Give thanks for all of your lightsabers, and always wash your socks.